Certainly.
You have talked a lot about the importance of anti-trafficking efforts, and human trafficking, just so we're all clear, includes sex trafficking, of course, but also includes labor trafficking. Is that right?
That's right, Senator.
And you probably prosecuted some of these cases. Is that correct?
I have been involved in allegations of forced labor.
Yeah.
Cases involving allegations of forced labor.
Understood. So when we're talking about labor trafficking, we're also talking about kidnapping and human smuggling across the southern border. Is that right?
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're diving into a heated Senate exchange that sparked widespread debate. Senator Josh Hawley recently grilled a Biden administration nominee over their involvement, or lack thereof, in combating human trafficking, a crisis that has escalated into a multi-billion-dollar international enterprise. Let's start with the backdrop. During a Senate hearing, Senator Hawley took the floor to question a Biden nominee who serves on Attorney General Merrick Garland's advisory committee. Human trafficking is a scourge that includes labor trafficking, sex trafficking, and human smuggling. Hawley opened by pointing out that combating human trafficking has been touted as a priority for the nominee in their role as a U.S. attorney.
With you were talking just a minute ago, I think, about human trafficking with Senator Cruz. Is that right? Did I hear that right? And this has been a priority of yours, I think, in your work as U.S. attorney. Is that correct? Fair to say?
Yes, Senator.
So you are on an advisory committee to the U.S. Attorney General, to Merrick Garland. Is that right?
Yes.
And you stated in your questionnaire that this advisory committee, and this is your quote, elevates the voices of U.S. attorneys in department policies. Have I got that right?
Yes.
And one of those policies is combating human trafficking, correct?
Certainly.
You have talked a lot about the importance of anti-trafficking efforts, and human trafficking, just so we're all clear, includes sex trafficking, of course, but also includes labor trafficking. Is that right?
That's right, Senator.
And you probably prosecuted some of these cases. Is that correct?
I have been involved in allegations of forced labor.
Yeah.
Cases involving allegations of forced labor.
Understood. So when we're talking about labor trafficking, we're also talking about kidnapping and human smuggling across the southern border. Is that right?
Cases of forced labor can certainly involve those types of activities.
So the New York Times reported just a month or two ago this fact, and I'm going to quote now from the Times: migrant smuggling on the U.S. southern border has evolved over the past 10 years from a scattered network of freelance coyotes into a multi-billion dollar, that's a billion with a B, multi-billion dollar international business controlled by organized crime, including some of Mexico's most violent drug cartels. And then the Times goes on to report about the cartels kidnapping children so that illegal immigrants can try to pose as asylum-seeking families. We've heard reports about women being abducted and raped as part of illegal immigration rings. We hear about cartels kidnapping and torturing other people, holding them for ransom until their relatives in the U.S. pay to have them released, and then illegally smuggling them into the United States. I'm sure you're familiar with this. I mean, this is the work that you do. All of this is human trafficking. All of it is tragic, and all of it is increasing. So here's what I'm coming around to. I'm just curious about your work with the Attorney General. Are you advising him to crack down on human trafficking at the border? Are you advising him to enforce our immigration laws at the border to stop this terror that is occurring with women and children in particular, but frankly, involving all people, labor trafficking, sex trafficking? Are you advising him to this on this topic and to this end?
Senator Hawley, as a member of the Attorney General's Advisory Committee, I can speak to the fact that I'm on that and that we do, when asked, provide input of the United States Attorney's community positions on issues.
Has he asked about this issue? Has he asked about, given your expertise in trafficking, has he asked about how to stop the crisis of labor trafficking and sex trafficking at our southern border?
Well, certainly violent crime is a very high priority for the department.
He didn't hold back, citing a New York Times report that revealed the transformation of migrant smuggling into a multi-billion-dollar operation controlled by violent Mexican drug cartels. It's no longer just about crossing borders. It's an industry rife with kidnappings, sexual violence, and exploitation. Hawley's line of questioning was direct. What is being done to address this crisis? He asked the nominee about their role in advising the Attorney General on tackling human trafficking at the southern border. Specifically, he wanted to know if they were pushing for stronger enforcement of immigration laws to curb this organized crime wave. The nominee responded cautiously, stating that violent crime is a top priority for the Department of Justice. However, they admitted they hadn't been asked to provide specific recommendations on the crisis at the border. Hawley was visibly frustrated, pressing further to highlight the human cost: women and children abducted, workers exploited, and families held for ransom. When pressed further, the nominee reiterated their commitment to addressing violent crime, but remained vague about their direct involvement in anti-trafficking strategies. They cited restrictions on discussing internal deliberations, but confirmed that the advisory committee had not specifically prioritized human trafficking at the southern border. This admission fueled Hawley's criticism. He accused the administration of turning a blind eye to the border crisis and allowing cartels to profit off human suffering. His frustration was palpable. How can such a massive and tragic issue not be front and center for those in power? This exchange sheds light on a deeply troubling reality. Organized crime has turned human trafficking into a billion-dollar industry, yet the government's response seems fragmented at best. Senator Hawley's questions underscore the urgent need for a comprehensive strategy to combat these crimes and protect vulnerable populations. What are your thoughts on this issue? Should the administration prioritize anti-trafficking efforts at the border? Let me know in the comments below.